My dad helped my husband start a business when we got engaged because he wanted me to marry someone who could provide me with the same type of life my dad gave our family. My dad still owns half the business, and the majority of my husband's most lucrative contracts are from people my dad introduced him to, or are connected to my dad indirectly. 5 months ago, my husband left me. One of the reasons was the fact that my family supposedly emasculated him in the beginning of our engagement, and he could never forgive me for letting them. I begged and pretty much threw all of my self-respect out of the window trying to convince him to come home. He did eventually come back 2 months ago, after I told him I was pregnant. The problem is that my dad hasn't forgiven him and is now intentionally destroying the business he helped build. My husband has tried apologizing to him and has offered to buy him out, but nothing has helped the situation. He wants me to speak to my dad on his behalf, but I've refused to get involved. At first, he was being understanding, but the more damage my dad has done to the business, the angrier my husband is getting at me. He thinks I'm ruining our family's future by refusing to get involved, and I should just be as angry as him over what my dad is doing to the business. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. Something tells me you left out a lot of important information about why he left, and only told the part that you knew would sound the worst. If your dad insisted he started a business with him because he didn't think your husband would be able to provide for you, and your dad is now destroying that business, that tells me your dad is a giant jerk. A childish, controlling, vindictive jerk. I don't even have to know any more about your dad. The fact that he is still trying to destroy the business after you guys got back together speaks volumes about the content of his character. And the fact that you are letting him. What was the point of asking your husband back if you were going to allow this to happen? You say that your child won't suffer, which I'm assuming is because you have your family money to fall back on. Sounds like your husband has been constantly torpedoed from the beginning, and his comment that you just sit by and let things happen means a lot more than you're letting on. Yes, the a-hole. You're allowing your father to damage your household's income because you're bitter. You're continuing to allow your dad to emasculate your husband. It sounds like he has a good reason to leave and came back for the wrong reasons. After reading your responses in other threads, I've come to the conclusion that your husband was right to feel the way he felt about your parents and you. Seems like your dad has been giving him crap for quite some time. Listening to your fiance's father tell you over and over again that you won't be able to care for and provide for your family like he did is pretty damaging. Now he's, the dad, purposely making what he said self-fulfilling by destroying the business. Way to go. I don't know what you think sitting on the sidelines will do, but if you actually wanted a successful marriage, it's not going to happen. This will cause major irreparable damage to your relationship, and the poor child will probably suffer for it all too. I'm sure you will be okay because dear daddy will take care of you and the kid, so you have nothing to worry about. I'm sure you will be okay because dear daddy will take care of you and the kid, so you have nothing to worry about. This is sad. I can't see how you can sit there like that. When I was 17, I had a part-time job, buying cheap horses, training them, and selling them. After I sold one particular horse for 6 times what I'd spent on it, I approached my mother about starting a business around this. A stud nearby was closing down, and I wanted to buy some of their cheap horses. My parents were in a comfortable financial position and agreed to own half shares in a business with me, with the promise that I'd work my butt off, completed my studies, and made X return for them by the time I was 25. Then they would sell one of their 2 beach houses. They had 3 properties, our home and 2 holiday homes, and used the money to buy a property to set up my own facility on. I put in the time and effort, made them more than X, and they held up their end of the bargain in addition to my dad, a builder, helping significantly with the building of facilities of the property. I'm lucky that my business has done very well. About this time, my youngest brother, Mark, dropped out of college at 21. He had a string of petty criminal offenses and a D habit. He went to our parents and demanded they give him an equivalent amount of money to what our parents had spent on my business when I was 17. My parents refused, but bought him a small apartment and said he could live there rent-free. Now I'm 37. Our father died last year, and our mom passed away about a month ago. The will has just been discussed. I have been left their share in my business and the property they bought me. My older brother has been left our childhood home and my dad's, and Mark has been left his apartment. While the other beach home and remaining money is being put into a trust for any emergencies we have, and to start a college fund for our children. Our older brother has 2 kids, and I recently started planning to. Additionally, my older brother, a builder, swapped a share in my business with me in exchange for helping to maintain the facilities on my property about 3 years ago. Since then, this arrangement has worked fine. We get along great, and it suits both of us. His wife, a graphic designer, also helped me set up a website and helps with setting up ads. As a result of this, we commonly refer to it as the family business. The problem is that Mark is demanding I give him a share of the business because it's the family business. Now, Mark hasn't held a job for longer than 6 months. Every time he gets any money, he spends it on D. However, he says it's unfair that our older brother was left Dad's building company, and I was left our parents' shares in my business, giving us both income to live off, and he wasn't. It is worth noting that he was offered shares in Dad's company when he was 18, in exchange for working for 5 years and doing an apprenticeship. This is what our older brother did. But Mark turned up his nose and instead went to college, which our parents paid for until he dropped out. Am I the a-hole if I refuse? Not the a-hole. Your parents clearly laid out who got what in their will. Your brother isn't entitled to shares of a business you've been running just because y'all are related. Not the a-hole. It's not the family business. It's your business. Your family is already pretty well off, and your parents gave him an apartment, which is already an extravagant expense and shouldn't be overlooked. He's been given a lot, and it's his fault he wasn't able to do anything with it because it's clear he had the resources available to him at any time. Not the a-hole. It's your business, not the family business. It was your idea, your hard work, your effort, your investment, your sales, and your earnings. Your parents owning shares is irrelevant. My whole family has shares in BHP. That doesn't make it a family business. It makes them shares. He's clutching at straws because he thinks he can manipulate you using guilt. He wants money. He doesn't want to pay his own way. He doesn't want to work. He has no idea how much hard work you and your brother put into your respective businesses. He thinks they were handouts. You know better. Don't give him anything. He'll just blow it and ask for more. Bit of advice though. Make sure that the joint emergency fund is locked up tight. You don't want him using that as his own personal bank account and robbing your kids, nieces, nephews of a college fund. Seriously, make an agreement. All 3 people must be consulted before money is removed, and if it is removed without that consent, they are removed from the account and have to earn your trust back. Get it in writing. Even better, get a lawyer and a contract. I know it's the worst case scenario, but better safe than sorry. I, 36 male, have 2 boys, aged 6 and 7. I'm engaged to Millie, 31 female, and we have a great relationship. My kids like her a lot and vice versa. We always have fun together, and they call her Aunt Millie. They live with me about half the time because my ex and I share custody. My mother was over at my house the other day to spend some time with us. We were having a good time. Then Millie got a package. It was a piece of antique art. She's a collector. And she left to get it ready for her display case. Soon after, my 7-year-old comes in and asks me to help him with his homework. So I excused myself and went to sit in the living room with him. My mom gave this odd look, but said nothing, so I didn't question it. While my boys played outside, she then asked why my fiancé didn't help him instead, since I was clearly busy with my mom. I was surprised and said Millie was busy too. Besides, my son asked me for help and not her. She tooted loudly and said, "Well, what's the point of getting a new wife if she's not going to help you parent your kids? She better step up fast if she wants to be a mother to them." This blew my mind, because not only was it incredibly rude, but my boys already have a mother. My ex is a great parent and the only one they'd ever call mom, and Millie and I aren't even married yet, so she technically isn't their stepmom. I told her that wasn't necessary. Helping with homework is hardly parenting, and that I'm their dad, so parenting them is my job. I also clarified that had my son asked Millie for homework help, which he never does, she would have gladly helped, but that again, she was busy and he asked me. My mom said, "So she expects to just sit on her butt polishing her trinkets while you bust your back around here?" I lost my temper and politely told her to get the duck out, as I could hear my kids coming in and I didn't want a scene. She was affronted, but left in a huff. Mom told the whole family. A few extended family are on her side and say I overreacted. Dad called and took no sides, but assured me my anger was justified since he knows how my mom gets. Millie is glad I stuck up for her, but feels guilty for what happened and wishes I'd gone in and asked her to help 7-year-old so she could prove to Mom that she is indeed willing to do those things. She said I shouldn't have kicked Mom out before she had a chance to talk it out with her, since Millie is going to be family and we should all get along for the sake of the boys and any future kids we have. She's sad that now there's family drama about her before she's even married into it. I firmly feel like I did the right thing here, but seeing her stressed is giving me pause. I reassured her she's done nothing wrong, will make an amazing stepmom, and that my kids love her. But my mom does not get to say she needs to parent them. My kids don't need or want another mom. They just want their friend, aunt. Should I have given my fiancé the chance to talk to her before kicking her out? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom needs to butt out and keep her ideas about old-fashioned gender roles to herself. Well, what's the point of getting a new wife if she's not going to help you parent your kids? What the duck? There's so much more to marriage than parenting children. Not the a-hole. Millie is only upset because she's scared it's her fault, and she doesn't want to make waves. Reassure her that it's not her fault, that it's okay if there's waves, and that she will always be the priority, no matter what drama ensues. I understand her anxiety, but don't cower to jerks just to alleviate anxiety. It's only cause for more in the future. Not the a-hole. You recognize that it's your duty to parent your kids, and not Millie's, although she might step up when need arises. Good call. Your mom needs to stay in her lane. She sounds like she believes women should be the ones taking care of the kids, while the men go to work. In 2022? Please, no. Update. So, as some of you suggested, I drew clear boundaries with my mom explaining who parents my kids and why she was in the wrong, with some success. She acknowledged she shouldn't have insulted Millie. Then she demanded that I admit I was wrong to make her leave like that. Well, I said I didn't believe I was. She promptly texted that she's no longer coming to my wedding. She's willing to reconsider if I apologize for my rudeness. Now, my mom's done dramatic things like this before, and they always end up being empty threats, but only because someone placates or coaxes her. I didn't think apologizing was right. Poor Millie was distraught, but supports me 100%. She offered to apologize herself if I thought it would help. She suspects that since everything was going fine until she excused herself, that my mom pulled this because she thought it was rude. Knowing Mom, I can't rule this out. However, I told Millie she has nothing to apologize for, and my mom was wrong to say it regardless. Worth mentioning, she didn't apologize for how rude she was about Millie, nor did I demand it. My dad told me apologizing was totally up to me, and that he'd be at the wedding regardless. Sister suggested I fake an apology, just to get her to the wedding, then start going low contact right after. Not the worst idea, but I dislike being fake, even for an apology. I'm trying to teach my boys how they should never half-heartedly an apology when they know they're in the wrong. I feel something similar applies here. I respectfully told my mom that she could decide whatever she liked for the wedding, but that she wasn't going to get an apology from me. She hung up in my face and hasn't contacted me since. Been almost 2 weeks. To be honest, I'm over it. I do love my mom. She's done right by my sisters and me in other areas, and I did want her there. But I need to protect my family, and she did this knowing it would hurt them. Wedding's 3 months away, so this is salvageable if it should be salvage. But the only reason I wouldn't now is for my kids and Millie. The boys love their grandma and will wonder why she isn't there. Millie plans on this being her only wedding, as do I. And it was important to her that all our family attended. But she's accepted that this may be a blessing in disguise, if the only way we keep my mom in our lives is by bending the knee at every turn. One silver lining is that some of the extended family who were previously on my mom's side have decided she's now being unreasonable. They apologized and will be attending the wedding now. A few of them still back her up, but well. What matters is that I'm marrying the love of my life, and no one there will talk crap about her for doing nothing wrong, or criticize my parenting. Background. I have a fairly successful real estate company. About 15 years ago, I was engaged, and she cheated on me, and following that, I changed my will so that my sisters and my nieces and nephews would inherit what I have after I pass, because I decided to never have a partner ever since. My sisters only knew I changed my will because I told them this whilst drunk at a New Year's Eve party in 2007. About 6 years ago, I met Anna. We ended up in the same ward after having cancer treatments and started talking, and things went from there. I'm not ashamed to admit that I think she's the bee's knees. We've been together ever since. My family is aware of this but have been unwelcoming to Anna for reasons that have never been clear. There's no significant age difference. We were all pale-skinned, no religious issues, etc. However, I figured out recently when one of my sisters approached me and asked whether I wanted input as to which college her eldest was going to. I was confused as to why it involved me, and she explained that, of course, I would be paying for it. I was shocked and asked why she thought this, and she explained that I had said I would leave everything to them 15 years ago. I laughed and pointed out that at the time I was 24 and heartbroken, and my sister and her husband were well off and should be supporting their own child, not asking me to. My sister went off about how Anna was stealing me and my money, assets, away from the family, and how we have no children, so I should support my sister's children. I said of course that Anna would inherit from me, as she is my spouse, and that my sister needs to take her demanding attitude elsewhere. Not to mention that at 39 and 37, it's entirely possible for Anna and I to have kids yet, and whether we did was none of my sister's business. We haven't spoken since, and my other sister is mad at me for leading them on for 15 years. I feel like I might be at fault here, because I can see how they would assume that, but also, why did they take my drunken word for it and never bring it up since? Especially as I now know that neither has saved for their kids to go to college, because they were relying on me to pay. I now understand why they don't like Anna. Also, Anna is very upset about the whole situation and is blaming herself for driving a wedge between my sisters and I. Am I the a-hole here? Edited to add. I first developed cancer when I was 27, went into remission at 29, and it came back when I was 32, and I had surgery, when I met Anna, and radiation therapy to treat it. But there's a good chance it will come back, so I'm assuming this is why my sisters didn't plan for their kids' college. Not the a-hole. They would have inherited if you would have died. You never stipulated that you'd cover college, etc. for your nieces and nephews. So they've walked around for 15 years hoping you'll drop dead so they get money to pay for things they haven't accounted for themselves. Wow, your family is a bunch of gold diggers. This is not Anna's fault at all. Not the a-hole. You aren't their personal piggy bank. If someone said to me while drunk with a freshly broken heart, I'd completely dismiss it. Then to be so greedy that they automatically dislike Anna because it means they won't get an inheritance shows more about them than about you. You have a right to be happy. They are not entitled to your money. I suggest you talk to a lawyer because if you leave them nothing, they will probably try to contest your will. You said that you would never be with anyone after a hard breakup at 24 years old, while drunk. How did they get from an inheritance to paying for college? Trying to get rid of Anna to make sure they get your money. Your family are entitled and horrible, not the a-hole.